the craziest DM was like offer for $500,000 to go to Dubai.
Here with Playmaker Podcast, Ashley Nicole Moss. Thank you so much for hopping on. Like, it's sick that you're here right now. Like, we're super excited for this podcast. Everyone at Playmaker is super excited for this podcast. First question: you've been in this industry for quite a bit now. Mm-hmm. We want to get down to it. Who would you say is like maybe one of the rudest or three of the people that you caught at a bad time, pro athletes that you met so far?
You know, I've gotten really lucky. And I know like not everybody's lucky with that, because sometimes you do catch people like and they're having a bad day and things like that. I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had that experience, but I'm also from New York. So like what's an attitude to some people like is a regular Monday to me. So like I don't get really offended by it, but I'm very lucky. A lot of the people that I've interviewed or just come into contact with at events and things like that have been really cool, and like some are even like fans of my work, which is sick. Like people that you've idolized, looked up to, been fans of yourself, you know, to them to return the favor. So I'm very lucky. Some friendships have even formed from meeting certain people. So I'm good. I may have jinxed myself just now, but you know, time will tell. But for now, I'm in a good space.
Hopefully
yeah.
not, hopefully not.
Okay, so kind of piggybacking off of that, you said like you haven't really had like a bad experience, but is there someone that you actually really want to interview? Like who's next on your list?
Oh, Allen Iverson for sure.
Oh, I love that.
You know, when I was going into journalism school and I focused on sports, and that was like, you know, the genre I was focusing on, I had a list of people that I wanted to interview. Penny Hardaway was on that list. I got to interview Penny in Memphis, which was so cool. Kobe Bryant was on that list. Unfortunately, I didn't get to interview him before his untimely passing, but Allen Iverson's also on that list. I'm a huge AI fan. Kobe and AI were the reason that I fell in love with the game of basketball. I watched their entire career. AI, I missed like the very beginning of it, but Kobe I watched beginning to the end. And I would love to sit down and just have a conversation with him. I've met him once or twice in passing, and it was like meeting. I was so like starstruck. I had not only that, but I had the biggest crush I think most girls on AI back then, with the braids and the tattoos. Yeah, like he was fly. So like seeing him in person was just kind of like full circle. So I can't wait to sit down and have a conversation with him. I think it's coming in the near future, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed about that.
All right. Well, still going on your career. You had this viral moment that everyone saw when you asked Bam about Julius Randle if he's one of the toughest people that he's defended. Did he pay you to say that?
No. So like, you know, it's funny. Bam and I like go back. We've been friends for years. Like when he first got to Miami and I was first starting my career in Miami, obviously different fields within sports, but we were kind of like coming through the ranks together. And he's a Kentucky guy, Julius is a Kentucky guy, and off camera we had been talking about, it was March Madness actually, so this time last year. We were talking about Kentucky. They had just gotten bounced from the playoffs, from the tournament. And the way that I asked him, and this is how Twitter works, when it came out I was upset because I was like, okay, this is not the full context of the conversation. Like, but what basically I was saying was, is it a player like a Julius Randle? Because Julius in small ball can play the 5. So you're essentially guarding 2 positions when you have to cover him. So that was the full context. But you know, of course, Twitter cuts it where it's like the most sensationalized, and it kind of caught some heat. But hey, when Julius dropped like 42 on Bam the last time the Knicks played, it kind of came full circle and came in my favor. But
like, pull that video up
right. So like the Knicks fan base pulled it up and it was like, oh, so Ashley was ahead of the curve. But it's all fun and games. You know, I think Twitter does what Twitter is supposed to do, and social media does what it's supposed to do. But Bam and I knew what the context of that conversation was, so it wasn't. It is what it is, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of Twitter, you know, you've had a lot of moments here and there. Do you feel like sometimes people take what you say out of context and over-exaggerate it, and how do you handle that?
Twitter is like the one place, like in the world, I feel like, that you can say exactly what you mean in black and white text, and someone will still find an interpretation of it that doesn't exist. But I think that as you kind of go through this career, especially with sports, I think that, you know, when you're using Twitter as just a regular Twitter user, if, you know, you may not deal with it as much, but when you're in the public eye of any capacity, whether it's media, sports, or whatever, you have to kind of be prepared that you're going to piss somebody off, especially in an opinion-based business like we have. You know, you may say, oh, the Heat are going to win a championship. You're going to have 50% of people who think like that's not true, so they're going to come at you. So you have to kind of be prepared for that. It annoys me at times though, because I'm like, can y'all not read? Like it says it right here.
They just want to start something, especially when it's like a pretty girl talking about it.
And but sometimes it baffles me because I'm like, I'm reading it and I'm like, this is as clear cut as it can get. And y'all and you're still finding the gray area where there is none. So it is what it is, you know?
You get so many like interactions and engagement every single day. Good and bad. Good and bad, exactly. And I know a lot of those people are sliding in the DM. What's like the craziest pickup line that you've ever got? Or like, who's the biggest name that's ever slid in your DM?
The biggest name? I have a few big names, but I would say the craziest DM was like somebody, when I was in college. I remember when I was in college, I had gotten an offer for $500,000 to go to Dubai. So it was like $250 up front and then $250 after I left Dubai. And that was in the era where like the girls were like flying to Dubai and I was like, mind you, I was in college eating ramen noodles every day. So I was like, it kind of sounds good, but then I was like, I'm not gonna do it. But that probably might have been one of the craziest, like that was a legit cash offer. And at the time, I mean, $500,000, like.
They're not messing, like they're serious when they say
but then my concern was like, what if I don't get back? Like, how am I gonna, like, you know what I mean? I don't wanna get stuck. Right. That was my fear. It was like Liam Neeson, like Taken, and like someone was gonna have to come get me. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I was like,
Taken Volume 4.
I was kind of like, you know that, that meme where she's like, and she like backs up. That was me.
Sounds
like,
nice, but definitely dangerous.
When you start thinking the logistics, you're like, that's not a good idea. So let's not do it.
Well, I'm happy you didn't go to Dubai.
Thank you, me too. I might not be sitting here having this conversation with you guys.
Crazy.
Right.
Okay. So also on Twitter, you made a bet with Brandon Marshall about Ja Morant. We know how that went. So I feel like now's the time to get your look back. Is there anything about Brandon that people wouldn't expect that you could tell us?
Anything I could expect? Anything about Brandon? That's a good one. Okay, so Brandon has this thing where, and you see this on air a lot. His vocabulary, he'll use words in the wrong context. He'll be like, what does that word mean? Like I taught him, I remember I said the word gravitas around him, and he was like, I don't know what that means. So like, Brandon's vocabulary is not as good as mine, but I'm teaching him new words and I'm teaching him how to use them. But there was one time where he got the word collusion right and he used it correctly and he would not let us live it down. Like to this day, like whenever we use that word in like a debate or like a discussion, he'll be like, yeah, collusion, right? Like who taught you that? I was like, you didn't teach me. But yeah, Brandon's a character. He's definitely, I think, people have a perception of who he is, and I think when you work with him and you're in and out, like day in, day out, you get to see a different side of him, but he's a character. His vocabulary is not as good as mine, even though he thinks it is, but it's not. And he thinks he can dress better than me, which he can't, so.
Oh, well, we're talking about fashion right now. Who do you think's like 3 best dressed NBA players in the league?
Ooh, I love Jordan Clarkson. I think he's fly. I know a lot of people say he wears weird things, but I think he wears things that like fit his personality and he gets his fits off. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, fly. I like Devin Booker's style as well. It's super simple, but very like attainable, which I think is important. And I'll throw another mix in there. I like Kyle Kuzma. I know people knock Kyle Kuzma, the extra long Rick Owens sweaters and things like that, but Kuzma, like he can dress and he's not afraid to like play with fashion and things like that, and I like that.
I feel like the tunnel now is becoming like a runway for people, and
it's
finally like it's finally becoming like people are able to express themselves like through fashion, so it is really cool to say. And like along with like Russ, he's been like bullied his whole career.
Russell Westbrook is fly to me.
Exactly. So I like all those answers. Like I like Kyle Kuzma. Like I like those answers that you give because like they're not scared to take those risks like through fashion.
And I think that like for me, like growing up in New York, like you were exposed to fashion at such a young age. Like street style has always been a thing. So for me, like I'm very into like fashion, high fashion, streetwear, things like that. So I can appreciate kind of the really eccentric, fresh off the runway stuff, and I can appreciate like the streetwear that's attainable for like every guy to go ahead. I think there's like when guys can play with that, that's dope. So I appreciate those guys for sure. Yeah.
So we talked a bit about the players, and we, asked a little bit about any crazy DMs you've been told, but have you ever heard anything crazy during an interview that you just completely didn't agree with or didn't understand or were kind of like, what? Like he said that, like do you have any moments that you could share with us?
I mean, you always, especially when you're in the industry of like takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say like, okay, for example, Brandon and I get into conversations all the time, and like when we were talking about the Mavs and the Warriors game, where like the Warriors took advantage of the Mavs kind of being on the other side of the court and not being where they were to inbound the ball, he was blaming it on the refs, and I was like, Brandon, there were 5 people on the opposite side of the court, like nobody was even there to inbound the ball. So sometimes you hear takes and you're like, I don't get the correlation. Even when watching TV, you know, Stephen A. Smith will say something and I'm like, come on, you don't believe that. Or stuff like that. I don't know if it's ever happened. I mean, I think with us, especially when you're sitting and you're having conversations with, you know, a bunch of guys who played football, played basketball, you're always going to knock heads a little bit because they're going to have their perspectives. I'm going to have my perspective. Anything outlandish, though? Any Knicks slander, Cowboy slander does not fly with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all my eggs in that basket.
I'm gonna bring that up.
Yeah. That does not fly with me. So anytime it pertains to that, I'm just like, that's not what it is. Like, I'll say the biggest thing that I hear often that I don't agree with is like Dak Prescott not being a good quarterback.
Okay. Do you think he's top 5?
I would say he's top 10. I don't think he's top 5.
Okay.
All right.
He's top 10 for sure.
I respect that. No, it was crazy when I found out that you were a Knicks fan and a Cowboys fan, because those are two of some of the most like hated organization franchises like of all time.
I got lucky,
like,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So like it was crazy when I heard that you were fans of both the Knicks and the Cowboys. But I have a question for you because of that. So you're on a plane, and on the plane, you, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Julius Randle, and Carmelo Anthony. You got 3 pair of shoes. One of them gotta go. Who are you picking?
It's not Melo for sure.
I would hope not.
It's not Melo.
You scared me for a second.
It can't be Dak.
Oh no.
CeeDee, I love Julius though.
Right.
I feel like CeeDee's like light enough. He could probably fly. He'll be all right. Yeah.
All right, so
I gotta save Julius.
CeeDee just like grow a couple wings, fly out.
Yeah.
You're good.
I feel like Knicks fans would like me more if like I let Julius fall and I save CeeDee, but I don't know. I'm gonna give one of them my parachute. I'll stay on the plane. Julius got kids. I can't do that to his kids. Like I can't. I might give it to Julius. And
really
It's gonna be CeeDee. I'm gonna have to let him go. Sorry, C. You know it's all love. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so we were talking about how your teams are a little bit of the most hated. So is there a team that you just can't stand?
I hate the Philadelphia Eagles.
I knew that was coming.
I hate the Philadelphia Eagles.
It was so clear.
Which is funny because one of my really good friends, Devontae Smith, is on the Eagles.
Yeah.
So it's hard because I want him to do well, and like I'm proud of his progress, but I hate the team. I hate the fans. After them is the Giants for sure.
Okay.
But I would wear a Giants jersey before I put on a Philadelphia Eagles one. Like I can't stand them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like I agree.
They're the worst.
I'm like despise Philly fans first of all. And
top
like,
to bottom.
100.
Yeah.
110%. And it's funny because like I saw that video of you when you're like, you snag that Kansas City beanie and you're like, get that.
Get the other, like with Kay Adams. Yay. She was like, which one do you want? I was like, hey, you know which one I want.
You were so happy the Super Bowl. I know you were so happy.
I was so happy. I was sitting there. When it started to get too close for comfort, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to do it.
And then
like,
that call happened.
And then the call happened and and you know what? The call was a little suspect.
It was sketchy.
But I was like, I don't care. Not my problem. Like, not my team, not my problem. So like. I said if
but you know that felt good.
I think I put out a tweet. I put out a tweet of like Dak in a Cowboys hat, and I said, won't be a parade in Philly this year, huh? Ooh. LOL.
It was parade.
Yeah. Listen, if the Cowboys can't have one, no NFC East team can have one. So that's kind of where I was with that. Yeah.
All right. So this is another tough hitting question right here. Would you get handcuffed to Dillon Brooks for a whole week for the New York Knicks to win a championship this season?
Oh. Can I duct tape like his mouth shut?
Nah, his mouth's going, and you know that's not stopping.
I would do that. I'm pretty good at ignoring people when I want to.
He's handcuffed to you.
I know, but I'm pretty good at like ignoring. So if you can be right next to me, and I can, I would just have to like suck it up for a Knicks championship. I've been waiting my entire life for that. I got to think of my dad. He's been waiting his entire life for it's just. I'd have to do it for the city.
You'd be sick of Dillon Brooks
I'd have to
by the
do.
end of that.
I would need a ring though. Like the Knicks would have to give me a ring.
It'd be worth it for the ring.
Yeah. I would need a championship ring. Like I was on the team if I went ahead and did that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he'd always be like Draymond. And
Yeah. I would do it for a week, but I would need a ring.
Yeah.
I would need courtside seats at the Garden for the rest of my life. Like what I just had to do for the city. Like I feel like
for the city.
Yeah.
No, New York was you'd be like the queen of New York.
I would be the queen. I never want to have to pay to eat at another restaurant in New York City.
Your
like
picture would be everywhere.
Yes.
Billboards everywhere.
Might need a statue outside the Garden. Like I don't know, maybe.
No,
like,
you'd be the queen of New York.
Yeah, I need a lot.
That's Die Hard right there.
Yeah,
I like it.
And because he is, no.
Right. So you talked a little bit about like your relationship with your dad. So where did your love of sports kind of stem from, and where do you feel like you felt like this was for you?
So it's definitely from my dad. I mean, I played growing up. I played soccer, volleyball, a little basketball, things like that. So I was always athletic. But it was really like my dad is a diehard sports fan, and he's Knicks, Cowboys, Yankees. So watching sports with him was, a bonding experience for us. But as I got older, it became less about just enjoying it from an entertainment standpoint, and I really started to like dive and hone into the logistics, so trades and the storylines. And when I got in high school, like I would get into debates with guys at like the lunch table, and I would be like, oh, like I'm actually like good at this. I can go toe to toe with them. And then I always had a love of writing. Like I used to write poetry and just journals and things like that. And I wanted to figure out a way to combine all of those things. So it kind of made sense to go into sports journalism. And then obviously at FAU, there was so many different programs that offered traditional journalism. So we learned how to write for like newspapers, but we also learned how to write for blogs, and we also learned how to, do radio and things like that. And it was when I did television interviews and things like that I was like, I really love the aspect of like sitting one-on-one with someone and like looking at them. And I see what you can do on the court, but who are you outside of that? And peeling back those layers is something that I really love. Of course, debating is cool, but for me, it was always about the storylines that really kind of I wanted to like really dive into.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so which NBA player do you think's a little too loud right now? Like
Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, like
for sure.
Speaking too much but not backing up his game.
Dillon Brooks, for sure. I mean, Draymond's right there next to him, though.
100%.
Draymond talks a lot, but he
100%.
hasn't really been doing what he should be doing.
They're both
but
a lot.
You know what? I give Draymond a pass because he's a multi-time world champion. Dillon just talks a lot. He hasn't done. I mean, but Dillon's also coming for everybody. Like, why Carmelo catch a stray?
Yeah, exactly.
Carmelo's over here minding his business, drinking his wine. Like, why is he catching a random stray? Like, why is T.O. Pinson stray? Like, he's on the bench in Dallas minding his business. Like, it just seems a little bit like low hanging fruit for him.
Well, this kind of goes like hand in hand. Which NBA player right now do you think is underrated, and which NBA player do you think is overrated?
Underrated. I think underrated. That's a good question. I feel like Jalen Brunson's underrated in New York. I feel like Shai Gilgeous is underrated. Maybe it's because he plays in OKC, so it's not really
it's
like.
He's on a small market. That boy's dropping 31 points and like 7 and 6. Like he should be getting way more respect than he's getting right now.
It's OKC.
But it's because he's on OKC, he's on a small market team. Like
for sure.
When you have Jason Tatum dropping close to that in Boston, a bigger market, it's just you're gonna hear about it more.
Yeah. I think that he's underrated.
That answer a lot.
He's probably, I feel like, one of the most underrated. It's again that market. Overrated. That's hard. Like, I feel like people who are overrated deserve to be. Like, I can't say that Ja Morant's overrated.
Ben Simmons. Do you think he deserves all this hate he's getting? Do you think he's overrated? Do you think he's underrated? What are your thoughts?
I think Ben Simmons is legitimately injured. Okay. I know, like, it's fun and it's like the low-hanging fruit to say he doesn't care about basketball. And I don't think he doesn't care. I think there is some truth to the criticism. I think that you would have liked to see a lot more development from him since, his Philadelphia days. And I don't think you've seen that drastic development that you have with some other players. Like if you look at this is not a perfect example. If you look at like an RJ Barrett, for example, he's a lot better than he was as a rookie.
Oh yeah.
Right? He still has a lot to grow and to learn. He's only 22, but you can see there's been progress there. I think the knock against Ben is that you haven't seen that progress. But when it comes to his tenure since in Brooklyn, I think he's legitimately injured. Like, it doesn't make sense that you're okay for a certain stretch of games and then all of a sudden you're out, and now you're out for an extended period of time. There's something underlining there, and it's just not, oh, he doesn't want to play basketball. Oh, he doesn't want to shoot the basketball. I think that he's physically not 100%. And it wouldn't be unheard of. I mean, Brooklyn is notorious for having a terrible conditioning program. Like, they're not the first. Right. The fan base complains about the lack of transparency when it comes to the health of players and what the media finds out. So I think it's a combination of not seeing progress, but I think it's, like I said, the low-hanging fruit. People are like, it's an easy target, it's easy jokes,
right.
But I do think there's legitimate injury there.
No, like you said, like he's the easy player to hate on just because of kind of like his role in the NBA, and like coming in, he had such high expectations as the #1 pick in the draft. And then alongside Joel Embiid, who's improving every single year, who became one of the best players in the league, Ben Simmons was stuck at a steady, and then that Atlanta playoff series, I feel like kind of like turned for the worse, and his career just started going down. But
I think also, I mean, like, listen, a back injury is not easy to come back from.
No way.
There are players that take some, like, if you look at like a Tony Romo, like from a football standpoint, when he herniated his disc, he was never the same player. Right. Like, he had to wear multiple like pads, and like he was one hit away from not being able to walk, which is why he didn't play. So then you take Ben having back surgery, having to rehab that back surgery. Now it's a knee issue. You have double injuries compounded. It's not easy. Like, there's probably a lot of nerve damage that people are unaware of that he's constantly dealing with. So while I get the jokes, I think there's legit issues there.
I think also, like with Ben, so much mental stuff happening too. Like from Philly, like they were hard on the kid. Like they were definitely
Philly's a tough market.
Yeah, they were not taking it lightly on him. Yeah, exactly.
People talk about New York fans. Philly fans are assholes. Like,
Philly fans are so much worse. I'm a Miami fan. I'm saying that. Like, they're so much worse. And this is, like, what you see from the outside. Like, not part of New York, not part of Philly. Like, that's what you see from the outside. But, like, I think he had a lot more going on. I don't think people, they didn't take it lightly on him at all.
Yeah, and I mean, remember, you're leaving Philly, a tough market, not only from the media standpoint, from the fan base standpoint. And while the Brooklyn fans aren't, you know, Knicks fans, it's kind of quiet in the Barclays. Right. You're still under that microscope of New York media. And the New York media is not easy.
Playing alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie
Irving.
And
they leave. Now all eyes on you. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I think that, you know, some truth, but then there's also a little tough on the guy. So.
All right, flipping back to football now. What's your favorite touchdown celebration? Do you have one?
I loved when Zeke jumped into the bucket, the Salvation Army bucket.
Fire. Yeah, that's fire.
I'm gonna miss him so much.
I know.
I'm so sad.
Where do you think he's going?
I hope it's not Philly.
Oh my gosh! For your sake, I hope it's not. That would hurt.
If it's Philly, I might actually cry. Like, I might shed a tear or two. Like, that would, anybody but Philly. Like, I would even prefer the Giants over. I mean, they're not going to do it. They have Saquon, but, like, it can't be Philly. Yeah. But I love that one because it was, like, you know, around the holidays, and then him and Dak, he put Dak in it with him in the 2-1-4, and that was a good one. I'm trying to think of the team that did it, but there was one where they like did the bowling and the pins and the players, they fell down. That's a good one. Obviously Justin Jefferson and, you know, his little gritty and things like that.
And everyone's picking that up now. They got Mike Cassetti like gritting down.
Yeah, it was. Schefter like messed up his knee trying to do the gritty. I was like, sir, don't do that. Like, yeah. But yeah, there's so many cool ones. I like when they do like the WWE and they're like counting down and
the CPR one.
The CPR one. It's so many cool ones. I mean, I like it. Yeah, I think it's cool.
Okay, I gotta ask. So, do you know how to gritty?
No.
Have you tried?
I remember Justin Jefferson. I interviewed him last year at Super Bowl Radio Row in LA. And he was going, and it was fresh off the gritty train, right? Like he had been doing it all season. Every single place that he went to, they were asking him to gritty. He comes to, at the time I was working with Sports Illustrated, he comes to Sports Illustrated, he sits down, he looks at me, I said, don't worry, I'm not gonna make you gritty. He said, thank you, God, I've been doing it all day. Right. I was like, I'm not gonna make you do it, in part because I know you've been doing it all day, and two, I can't do it, and I'm not trying to learn, so.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I think I've attempted it once, and I was like, nah, it's okay. It's a young person's move. Right. I'm not old, but I'm old enough for that, so like, so yeah, I can't do it.
Is there like a moment in your career that you remember being like cringing at, like one of the most embarrassing moments of your career?
Most embarrassing?
If any.
I don't have the most embarrassing. I remember one of the most nerve-wracking though. I remember one of the first interviews I ever did was with Pat Riley. And
right off the bat.
Pat Riley has this like Godfather aura about him. It's very like Don Corleone. And I was like 22 at the time. And I was working at NBC6 down here. And he was getting an award at some charity event, and we had like 5 minutes with him, maybe 10 minutes tops. And we're waiting, and he walks in, and I see him. He's like dressed to the nines, hair slicked back, fresh tan, like he just got off the boat from the Bahamas or something. And mind you, I'm a Knicks fan. We don't have the best relationship with Pat Riley. So that was nerve-wracking for me. But then also like seeing this like legendary coach and now president, and just he's walking towards you. Smells like $7,000 cologne. Like, it's incredible.
Bro.
And like he's just like this it's not even that like he's intimidating in like his height or his build, it's his aura. And he's like walking towards me, and my hands are getting sweaty, and then I shake his hand, and he is the nicest guy ever. Like, he has such a welcoming spirit about him when you actually converse with him and you sit down and you have a conversation with him. But like from like just glance, it's like you're going to sit down with the Godfather. And it's funny because when I interviewed Bam, he told me a similar story that when he first got to Miami, he walks into Pat Riley's office, the lights are dim, there's only a light like above his desk. So it's like illuminating Pat Riley, the rest of the room is pitch black. And Bam walks in and he's like, hello? And Pat turns around in his chair and he's like, hi, take a seat. It was very Godfather-like. But Bam said the same thing. When they sit down, they're talking about restaurants for him to go to and things like, but he walks in and he's like, the hell is going on
here?
You're
like in a movie 24/7 with Pat Riley.
He has that exact vibe about him. So.
You feel like $1 million when you're just even talking to him.
Yeah, I left smelling like $1 million. Like, he smells amazing.
Damn, I wonder what cologne he uses.
I don't know, but it smells very rich. It smells very rich. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I love that you tapped on that. Is there maybe like an athlete that you've met that acted how you didn't expect them to act, like you had the complete wrong perception of them?
Yeah, I think a few. I think when I interviewed, let's see, I think Emmitt Smith I thought he would be a little bit more, he's so chill and so laid back and so funny. I thought it's Emmitt Smith, like he's a legend, he's a Yellow Jacket Hall of Famer. He's gonna walk in like, I'm Emmitt Smith. He sat down, he's like, hey, he was, at the time he was promoting a tequila. When I saw him last year at Radio Row, and he was like, this bottle, you want it? And I was like, yeah, I want it.
I love it.
He signed a jersey for my dad that I brought, that's hanging on the wall at the house. And like, he was so chill and so nice. And like, I think especially Hall of Famers, like current players, like, I don't think they have that same kind of aura about them, but like those Hall of Fame guys have every right to kind of be like, I'm enshrined in Ohio, like don't talk to me. But he was such a nice guy and like so chill, and like a guy that you'd want to like go golf with. Like, I don't golf, but if I did, like I'd want to go with Emmitt Smith. So that one was really cool. Michael Irvin is really cool.
That's sick.
Justin Herbert actually is really funny. And he kind of threw me off because I thought he was going to be like really quiet and whatever, but he's not. He's super personable. Eli Manning, the same thing. Eli comes across a little dorky,
awesome.
but Eli's hilarious. Like him and Peyton together, but Eli by himself will crack jokes. He has a very dry sense of humor. Same thing with Tom Brady. I interviewed Tom Brady at the SI Awards. Well, I didn't get to interview him. He wasn't doing interviews, but I saw him. And I had to, like, there were cameras going crazy, and I was prepared to interview him. Last minute, he says, oh, we're not doing interviews. He's just going to walk. So I'm like in this long black dress, and I'm squatting because I don't want to be in any of the photos. And he said, he looks at me, he goes, no, why are you squatting? Get up, get up. That's not cool. He's like, don't do, that's not cool. Why are they making you squat? So Brady's another one that like you think he's going to be like standoffish, and he's a really cool guy. So
that's sick. Sometimes you don't get the full picture like over the screen, and people have like misconceptions about people. They think of them in the wrong way. Do you think that there's a certain athlete in the NBA right now that you feel like is portrayed wrong from the media?
A few. I think Kevin Durant's one.
Yeah,
I think that a lot of people think KD is just like this, like miserable, just rude, like
snaky.
Rude.
Yeah.
KD is not like. KD wakes up every day, he's blessed to just hoop. Like, he's sarcastic, but I think there's like this persona of him that he's just this miserable person. He hates life, and he's just, it's not the case. I think obviously there are misconceptions about Ja Morant. I think there's misconceptions about Jimmy Butler. I think there's even misconceptions about Julius Randle. I think that he, especially being in New York, where like the lens and that microscope is different. And I know Ju, and he, you know, he's somebody who's super passionate and he's human. He's got a little, he's a Sagittarius, and they're super emotional if you believe in that stuff. And I think that sometimes, you know, he lets, you know, the situation get the best of him, but he really loves the Knicks, and he really loves that team and that fan base.
You could tell that he loves the Knicks.
His son loves it, like his family loves being there.
The way he plays and stuff and like appreciates the fans, like you could tell that he loves being there, and like he's grateful for them just as they're grateful.
Not only that, but everyone forgets, like Julius Randle played with Kobe Bryant. So he saw firsthand that work ethic, and that story about him being in, I think it was Cleveland or Detroit or something like that, where he was looking for an open gym and he was calling around and he found a high school gym that was open so he can get shots. So that's a true story. Like he really, his dedication to his craft and his conditioning is real. And I think that he also has a bad reputation where he's just like this miserable person and he's just sensitive. But I think that when you're passionate about something, you're bound to like ruffle some feathers along the way. So,
well, other than Julius Randle, do you think that there's someone in the NBA that has that Mamba mentality and like that dog in them that we don't really see often, especially since Kobe?
I think Devin Booker has it. I think Booker is, I mean, obviously Kobe, I mean, you think of LeBrons, you think of KDs, you think of those, like those are given. But Devin Booker for sure. I mean, like he eats, breathes, sleeps basketball, like he's hooping constantly, like he wants to win. His mid-range is like insane, but his work ethic is crazy. Like, and I think that because Kobe was his idol, I think a lot of, you know, those aspects of him, he's applied to his own game. And he says, you know, I'm not Kobe, I'm never gonna be Kobe, but there are a lot of things about Kobe that like I've taken on. And I think that he has that. I think Jason Tatum has it. I know we're waiting to see it when it counts the most, but I think JT has it. I think a few people have it. I think Kobe was one of those players where you can see bits of him in most players in some aspect, whether it's footwork, whether it's their shot. He was just that influential that you see him in pieces of guys, and some guys more than others. So,
so you spoke a lot about misconceptions of other people. Do you feel like there's a big misconception people have about you?
Oh, for sure.
And what is it? Like, what do you think people always get wrong about you?
I think a few. I think one, I think people think, obviously when you're a woman in sports, and you reach a certain level of sports where you're more public and you're more on camera. I mean, if I had $1 million every time I was dating somebody that I interviewed, I'd probably be worth like 50 mil by now. Like it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like you can't even sit down and like, for example, we just did an interview at I Am Athlete with Von Miller. Now I'm looking at Von Miller the same way I'm looking at y'all, and the comments are, oh, she's looking at him like she wants to date him. So like now you want me to interview someone with my eyes closed. Like how am I supposed to, like which way do you want me to look to like not offend you because I'm confused. So it's things like that they start nitpicking, and you know, you'll take a picture with someone and now you're dating. Someone will follow you on Instagram and you'll follow them back and now you guys are getting married tomorrow. Like it's things like that. And it's unfortunate because some people don't have the wherewithal to know like, it's not true. People just make things up. Some people truly believe it. So like those rumors start to circulate like on the internet within a small group of people.
And once it starts going, they take off with it.
Right. I mean, people like that matter don't believe it, but it's still like, it still rubs you the wrong way as a woman who you already are knocking so many barriers down to get to the position you're in. Now all of a sudden, I'm dating Jaylen Brown because we have a picture together on the internet. Like I interviewed Bam, so now we're together. Like it's just, it's weird. So that's one. And I also think like I'm somebody who like in person, if I'm not like communicating with someone, I'm more reserved, I'm quiet, I'm chill, like I'm peeping the scene. People take that as me like being standoffish or bitchy and things like that. But then I think when I'm like sitting down and actually talking to someone, they'll be like, oh, she's not any of those things. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here like minding my business. What do you want me to do? Jump up and down and do cartwheels? Like it's, people have misconceptions, and I think that for me, when I was younger, it got to me a lot because it was like you didn't want to be misunderstood, so you try to like constantly push back. And I think when you get older and more seasoned in the game, you realize you can have every proof in the book that this isn't true, and someone will still make it true. So it's like, why waste the energy of like trying to prove people wrong?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
People need to understand like this is your job just as much as it's their job.
Right.
Like, I've even seen like you post pictures with like Victor Oladipo and people in the comments are saying out of pocket stuff. Like he definitely like
right.
You know what I mean? Like, he definitely hit.
Oh no, for sure.
And it's
for
just
sure.
like it's just like.
And Victor will send it to me and he'd be like, "When did this happen?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't know. I don't remember it." Right.
No, it's funny because it's like this is your career, this is your job, and like it must be annoying that people don't take it seriously. Sometimes.
There was a. Jaylen Brown had a like get together at he had rented a house in LA, and I had taken a picture on my film camera that's on my Instagram of him and Amari Hardwick together. And I posted it, like when I uploaded all my film photos to my Instagram, I posted it, and from that photo, there was an entire thread about how we're dating and how we're together and how like I'm competing for a spot in his life. And I'm like, I'm not even in the picture.
Yeah.
Like I just took it. Like, you know what I mean? I just happened to be present. It was me and like a bunch of other people. So it's unfortunate situations like that. But like I said, you learn eventually to stop trying to like change the narrative because people are going to believe what they want to believe. So like, let them believe it, and those who don't. Those who do. Like, you'll never win, so.
Right. Do you have like a oh shit moment from your career? That's like either like could be like, I made it, like something like that, or like something like that's the moment you knew that you could actually go the long run with this.
I think that moment came for me when I made 30 Under 30 with Forbes.
That's tough.
Yeah, I think it was crazy because the year prior when I was 28, so there's like levels to like, there's being nominated, and then you become an actual candidate, and then from that, like they make you fill out a form with all these questions in case you get chosen to like the final batch of people, right? So I think when I was 28, I had made it to the nomination stage, and I was so excited, and I think I had made it to like the candidate stage, or like the stage where you fill out the paperwork, and I was like so excited, and I got my hopes up a little bit, and I was like, oh, this means like I definitely had, they're asking me all these questions, like I have to be in. The list came out, and you know, like you ever like audition for a school play or something, and like you run to the bulletin board and you're like searching your name. That was me in the morning when the list dropped in the sports category. My name wasn't on it. I remember searching it like maybe 6 times. Like maybe they spelled my name wrong. Maybe it's Jessica, but they really meant Ashley, and like whatever. So I'm like looking and looking. It's not there. I remember being so disappointed. And with Forbes 30 Under 30, you have to be under 30 by December 31st to like make the cut.
Right.
So this was my last year of being eligible. So again, I get nominated, I go through the candidacy, I'm filling out the form, but this time around, I'm like, I'm not even gonna like, I'm just gonna fill it out and go about my business. I'm not gonna think about it, whatever. Like, there's no way, like, and then the morning of when the list drops, my phone is blowing up. And I'm the type of girl now, my phone constantly stays on D&D. Like, it's terrible, but it's just like, I just want to be left alone. So my phone's blowing up, and I'm like reading it, and I was like, congratulations. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm actually kind of, I'm low-key kind of scared because my phone's blowing up from all these people, and I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm thinking like something got leaked. Like, what did I do? Like, oh my God. So like, I'm looking at it, and then I get on Twitter, and my notifications are blown up, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I say on Twitter last night that got everyone like, I'm thinking, I thought my take went viral, and something like I don't know. And it was, I made the list, and I was like, that was like a oh shit moment. I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. That was something that had been on my vision board since high school. And it's crazy when like you manifest something and it actually happens, because a lot of times you manifest things and it doesn't always happen. You know, that's the truth about manifestation that people don't talk about often. It's like you can manifest something, it doesn't always happen that way. So to actually have it happen was pretty sick.
That's like, that just reassures you that everything you've done, like every comment that you have gotten that maybe made you shed a tear or whatever, it was all worth it, because like, look at me now. That's so sick. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
And everybody's very, very, very proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool, and it was a moment for sure. Yeah,
I love it.
So I want to know a little bit about your change from Sports Illustrated to I Am Athlete. What precedented that change, and why did you decide to make that move?
I think whenever you work in a job long enough, you know, there comes a point where there's no more room to grow. You know, like sometimes, you know, I relate it to relationships. Sometimes you grow together, and sometimes you just grow apart. You know, it's not like it was a bad relationship. It's just that there's no more room for growth. And I think for me, when I got to SI, what was really important was, one, using the brand to like uplift and build my own brand, but also they had never had, you know, a Black woman head their department in video. So I really wanted to make sure that whenever I did leave, because I knew it wasn't a forever job, but I wanted to make sure when I did leave that they realized, okay, diversity works. Like, we can do this. Like, Laces Out was a success. You know, the Super Bowl was a success. Like, the next girl that comes along that may not be what we typically went for at SI, we know, okay, it worked with Ashley, so it might work with her. So let's go this route. So for me, when it had come to the point where it ran its course and I realized I wasn't going to keep growing there, I was just going to stay stagnant, I was looking for what was next. And, you know, there were other offers on the table, but one thing I liked about I Am Athlete was that I feel like we're in a space within this landscape of sports where there's so many avenues to do the same thing, but differently. You know, the traditional landscape, when I was coming up and out of college, it was only ESPN or like the big three, ESPN, CBS, NBC, Fox. Yeah, like Fox. It was really, those were really only your opportunities. Like,
and it was like major TV stations.
Right, like, and radio. Like, YouTube wasn't really like a thing like that. Podcast game was so new. Like, nobody had a podcast. So IG lives and stuff like didn't exist. Like, it wasn't something people were doing. So you really only had the opportunity to like invest all your eggs in those baskets. And if it didn't work, you felt like a failure. But with I Am Athlete, you know, the landscape has so drastically changed, and athletes are feeling more and more comfortable sitting down in less traditional spaces to talk to people. They want to talk to their peers. They don't want to have to go to ESPN and feel like they're being forced to like say certain things, or Fox being forced to say certain things, and they can't be themselves. And I liked that I Am Athlete was a place where athletes felt comfortable to like tell their story. And for me, like I said, I got into journalism to peel back those layers. And they had always seemed so comfortable doing that in like a laid back setting on a couch with guys who played the sport. And I felt like, although I didn't play professionally, my foundation is always to humanize athletes. And I felt like I was a good fit there. So that was the move I ultimately made. So it worked out.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know yourself best, so you're gonna have to make those moves for yourself.
Yeah.
I got a fun question for you here. I want you to start, bench, cut these 3 NBA players.
Okay, cool.
All right. I got Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown. And Devin Booker.
Damn. Okay.
That's exactly how.
Oh my God. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start Devin. No.
Yeah, stop.
Okay, I'm gonna cut Jaylen. I have out of the 3. I'm gonna have to cut Jaylen. I'm gonna start Donovan, and I'll bench Booker because Book likes to get hot towards the second half of the game. I'm gonna start Donovan, bench Booker. I'm sorry, I had to cut Jaylen, but that's hard. That was a hard one. Yeah.
Right now, Kevin Durant.
Like right now?
Right now.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
Kevin Durant.
Luka.
Giannis.
Well, okay, this is kind of easy because Katie's hurt right now. So
okay. Katie not.
Oh, he's not hurt. Damn. Okay.
Like, this is just like all of them healthy, but like right now, not KD, OKC, like KD right now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But, like, not hurt.
Okay.
They're all healthy.
Okay. Damn. Okay, healthy. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to start KD. I'm gonna have to bench Giannis. I'm gonna cut Luka.
It's respect, but it's so crazy to hear someone say cut Luka.
I know. But out of the 3,
it is crazy.
Giannis is a freak.
But right now you would cut Luka?
Out of Giannis, KD, I would have no choice.
Oh my God.
I can't cut Giannis. He's a 2-time MVP.
I wouldn't cut
and
Giannis.
I can't. I mean, KD is a sniper.
100%, but like what Luka's been doing this season too has been absolutely absurd.
KD is a sniper.
100%.
I can't as a
You just can't say the word.
I saw KD drop 60 at Rutgers.
Yeah,
like I can't.
You just can't.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Respect.
That's why I thought I got you when you said right now. I'm like, oh, he's injured. That's easy. I can do that. But
no respect.
Damn.
I like it.
But Luka, that'd be a hard cut. That'd be a hard conversation to have.
There'd be a couple tears.
I'd be like, Luka, I'm sorry. I gotta let you go, man. It's nothing personal.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Kind of hard hitting. Not really. Okay. As a Black woman in the industry, I'm sure you've went through a lot. What is your number 1 takeaway that you always tell yourself and that you could tell other people?
So many things. I feel like the biggest though is the work rewards itself. I think that that's just the concept of energy. You know, what you put out, you get back, whether good or bad. And I think that at times, and it's just for women in general, I feel like in this industry, I feel like at times when you're working, and you're not seeing immediate, return, you know, it's disheartening because you're like, okay, I'm grinding. Like, when's the break? Like, when is it like gonna come back to me? And I feel like that's a natural reaction when you want something. And I think that when you reach that point, did my earring just fall out?
Yep, and it's okay.
We gotta put that in slow motion.
No, but like, I feel like when you really want something, sometimes patience is the hardest thing to have. And I'm an extremely impatient person, like by nature. Like if I have to wait more than 5 minutes in the Starbucks line, I'm like, oh my God, like it's not even worth it. Like I'm just gonna leave. But I think the biggest lesson for me is having that patience, and the work really does reward itself. It doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes it does. Listen, some people get lucky and it's like 6 months in, they're superstars. Like it happens like that. So it would be, you know, an ignorant thing for me to say that it doesn't. But for most people, that's not how it works. Like for most people, it's grinding and grinding and grinding, and eventually the work comes back to you, that energy comes back to you. So I would say to always remember the work rewards itself. If you're doing good work, if you're doing honest work and you deal with people respectfully and honestly and you're transparent and you're not like headlight baiting and you have genuine conversations, or if, you know, you're giving genuine takes, if that's like your field and things like that, it'll come back to you. It's hard. It's a hard thing to wait for, but eventually it does. And also, like, the biggest thing I also learned is authenticity matters. Like, I think when you're coming up, especially women, you're told you have to be so many different things in order to be successful. Like, you can't be to this because you're gonna piss this person off. You can't be to that. Wear your hair like this so people don't think. Wear less makeup so they don't think you're too cute, but don't wear not enough makeup where they think like you're not cute. So many things that you're told you have to do. And I realized for me when I hit like 25, 26, and I was like, and I would look at old clips of myself and I was like, who is this person? Like, I don't even know who this, like, she doesn't talk like this. She doesn't like maneuver like this. When you start being authentic, people react more to that because there's already an Erin Andrews. There's already a Jamel Hill. There's already a Carrie Champion. There's already, you know, a Malika Andrews. But we don't have a you. You don't have a you or a me. And that's what people want. So be authentic and remember the work rewards itself. It'll always come back to you eventually.
I love that we ended with that. I got chills. Like, I was like, that's great. No, that was beautiful. Definitely. We just want to say thank you again for like coming on the Playmaker Pretty Big Plays podcast. Like, you're so amazing. As like young girls in the industry too, like we look up to you so much.
Thank you.
So it's really awesome that you're here. So thank you.
Thank you. I had fun. Thank y'all for having me.